jump back to the PowerPoint. All right, so Jeremy.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is backing up the group policy object. I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to people in classes, in my training and workshop classes, and I say, okay, who here is backing up their, their data? People will raise their hand. How many people here are backing up their database? All the hands go up. How many people are backing up their GPOs? I get like 2 hands go up. And I'm like, I want to just shake people. And I can't figure out why this is avoided, because it's pretty easy. There's a lot of different avenues that you could take. If you're a GUI person, you could use the GUI. I'm going to show you how to do that. If you're a scripting guy or a scripting person, you could do that. If you're a PowerShell weenie, you could use that as well. So, and by the way, that's a technical term, PowerShell weenie.
I was going to comment on that. Wow, scripting guy and PowerShell weenie.
Yeah. I think the PowerShell people, they know what I'm talking about. We're
trademark terms.
Yeah.
Trademark term.
Forward now. I'll talk about these. There we go. All right, so this is a blurry picture for some reason of the GPMC. But look, it's super mind-bogglingly easy to get started backing up your group policy objects. All you got to do, right-click over the swimming pool, select Backup All. That's it. I mean, you follow a couple of prompts and go get a beer. It's really that simple. So go ahead and let's roll forward.
Is the beer a requirement?
It is not a requirement. You can substitute milkshake for beer if you like.
Okay.
All right. So here is the scripting method, and don't worry about scribbling all these things down. I'm sure, Nick, there's some way for people to get a copy of the slide deck if they want to.
Yes, and also, is it there at the tiny URL that you've got at the right?
Yeah, but I'm driving at how do they write down that? Instead of them writing down that tiny URL, is there a way for everybody to get these slides?
Oh yeah, the slides will be posted up on our website on the Active Administrator product page.
Cool. So long story short, so this tiny URL links to the Microsoft GPMC scripts. Now, some of you might know these GPMC scripts already because they were built into the older GPMC that worked on XP, but the newer version that works on Vista and Win 7 in 2008, well, it doesn't have that scripting toolkit built in. So if you want to go hustle and go get that, that's where you go get it. And look how easy it is. On the upper pane, you can see we're going to back up all GPOs. Guys, they couldn't make it any easier to back up all the GPOs. And here's another one, restore GPO. There's actually restore all GPOs, but I don't know why you would ever want to do that. That actually seems kind of dangerous. I like the idea of back up all GPOs and restore one GPO. Not so sweet on back up all GPOs and restore all GPOs. That sounds a little scary. So anyway, you can go ahead and play with these. They literally make it super brain dead easy for you, and I highly encourage everyone to pick a method. So the last method is the newest one, which is the PowerShell method. So the only way to get this to work is you need to have the group policy module for PowerShell, which is built into Windows 7 GPMC. In other words, if you're using the GPMC upon Windows 7, you can do this, which is import module group policy, and then you can use the backup GPO commandlet. And you could back up GPO/all and go to town. Really, again, it couldn't be any easier. So look, there's lots and lots of ways for you to back up your group policy objects. At this point, no excuses time. If you raise your hand that you back up your data, your SQL databases and all that other stuff, you're not backing up your GPOs, now is the time. That's 3 different methods. All you got to do is pick one. That's all I ask. That's your homework assignment for tonight. So that's it for now. So what's next on our deck? Oh, okay, here we go. So this is here's the other half of the equation, right? So if backing up GPOs is, let's call it half the Active Directory battle, let's talk about what's new and such for AD backup and restore. All right. First things first. The old NT backup utility, that puppy is gone. The new kid in town is the Windows Server backup. Now, you might have a hard time finding this thing. So I'm going to just give you the command line version to get the backup features raring to go. So it's Server Manager command -install backup features. And when you do that, it'll actually install that Windows Server backup for you. And that's just step 1 of the process. Let's go ahead and go to step 2. So at this point, you would use that tool to go ahead and make your backup. I'm not going to bore you to death with how to make a backup. It's not super duper hard. The hard part is the restore. doing a restore of some of these things can be quite difficult. The first thing is that there is no more built-in directory services repair mode. So when the crapola hits the fan, you have to know how to do this in advance. So I have this all here ready for you for when the problem happens. You can come back and go, man, that Moskowitz character, he told me how to do this. And you pull out these slides and this is what you're going to do. Long story short, you're going to have to make an entry in the BCD, which is the boot edit on the domain controller. And you can see here that if you do BCD edit / copy, then you use the word default in a little curly bracket /D and give it a name like directory services repair mode. You can see that it creates a successful entry in the boot order. And you can see the graphic representation of that is on the right. So under the system properties, advanced tab, you've seen this 1,000 times. Under startup and recovery, you wouldn't normally, whoops, can you go back for a second? There you go. You wouldn't normally see directory services repair mode. That's only there because you hand created that directory services repair mode from the existing entry. Let's go ahead and move forward here. Okay, so once you get into directory services repair mode, oh yes, my friends, the fun begins. Now you have to learn how to do what's called a non-authoritative restore and an authoritative restore. So without getting too geeky and too scary into it, I have a bunch of stuff here for you for your fun reading for bedtime. But in a nutshell, you need to run WB admin and start the system state recovery. And once you have it, you then have to dictate which elements you clobbered. Okay? So all that stuff is hand described in all these fun documents that I know you're going to love, and I have them here for your reading pleasure. Okay. I get this question all the time of, hey, I've heard about this thing called tombstone reanimation, and it's been around for a long time. Isn't that going to make this whole authoritative and non-authoritative restore go away? Isn't that the magical awesomeness fix to all of our problems? And the answer is no with a capital N. It does not actually fix your problems. I mean, look, the advertising around this is pretty cool. It's going to recover deleted objects without going offline. Woohoo! But so what does it really do? Okay, as advertised, it removes the thing called the is-deleted attribute. So just the same way where files aren't really whacked off the hard drive, they're just kind of scrubbed gently clean with a little white out on it. You can unscrub the is-deleted attribute. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Now, P.S., the other half of what I forgot to mention, or I'm mentioning it now anyway, is that there's actually a tool around this. If you do a little search for it, you'll find a tool made by the venerable Mark Rustinovich from Microsoft. The older tools from sysinternals.com, and it's called AD Restore. And if you look at this thing, it actually looks like it's actually doing the job. You can see I've got some old and crusty, users that I killed for whatever reason, and there they are. You can see they have different objects and sort of stuff. Cool, sounds great, and it actually does restore them. It returns the object back to the last OU or container. That's cool. It preserves the SID. What's not to like? That part's pretty cool, so they can make contact back to their files. But it doesn't save forward link or backward link attributes. So what does that mean? It means that if you've got a user in a group or a group with a bunch of users, and you try to restore either one of those, there's no way for you to know who was in what group or what user was in those groups. Does that make sense? So there's no way. There's those linking attributes not restored with that tombstoning thing. Let's go ahead and move forward. All right. So the question is, what is the point of the tombstone reanimation? Yes, there is this end user tool, but really, what's the point? Honestly, tombstone reanimation is more of a programmatic way of jamming users back in quickly without taking the domain controller offline. It's for third parties to use to quickly make a restore happen, but then restore the remaining data, the stuff that doesn't come back, with some other backup source to repopulate the data. So if we put it all together, true, you get the benefit of not having to go offline. True, you get to remain and keep the SID, but you don't get everything back, and that's why you need a secondary data source to restore back to repopulate that data. So let's go ahead and move forward. All right. So I've also gotten a lot of people asking me, "Hey, Moskowitz, what's the story about this AD recycle bin?" All right, I'm going to pop the bubble. There is no AD recycle bin. I'm just telling you right now, there's no such thing as a true, you double click and you drag and drop and you just pull it out of the trash can. That is not true. Okay? What it is more cleanly is it's more like tombstoning done right. All right? What the AD recycle bin enables you to do is that it does that whole recovering of the is deleted, but it also preserves all the forward and backward link attributes. So what does this do for us? So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. All right. Well, before we talk about all that, let's make sure we got it straight. Here's the bad news around this feature. Let's say you love everything about it, okay, and it looks like it's going to serve your needs. Well, the last bullet shows you how you would actually restore the objects. Now, I don't want to bore you to death, so I'm not going to put you all through that. But in order to actually perform the restore using this whole AD recycle bin stuff, there's exactly two sanctioned methods. That's LDP, you know what I'm talking about, or PowerShell. So if you are not a guru in either one of these things, you have a tough road in front of you. And the other half of the equation, this is not going to be for everyone. The forest level has to be 2008 R2, and every domain has to be domain level 2008. So I don't know for you multi-domain people if you're going to be able to manage that real quickly, but if you don't, then this probably isn't the right solution for you. So anyway, I think it's interesting. I think it's a good addition to Microsoft's battery of getting things restored quickly, but it still might not be the right solution for everyone, especially because for some folks, here that middle bullet, once it's enabled, it can't be disabled. That's also true. And there may be some categories of individuals and companies that may have some regulatory problems around that. The idea is that sometimes when things are deleted, they really should be deleted over the long haul. I'm not an expert on that stuff, but you may need to be if you have compliance problems, compliance issues that you need to be concerned about. So that's all I have to say about that. I'll turn it back over to Nick.
You almost sound like Forrest Gump, and that's all I have to say about that. So Jeremy actually touched on the tombstoning a bit, and how the idea of having more of a programmatic way that Microsoft built that outside vendors could utilize an external data source in conjunction with the tombstoning, and come up with a complete backup that doesn't require directory services restore mode. And that's sort of what we have to offer here. I'm going to have Carolyn talk about it in a little more detail in a second, but we perform our own backups, and then we have that separate data set there. And we can recover objects down to you see an attribute level here, recover the passwords. We can even establish random passwords if you want to set new ones. And you recover those group memberships, the backlinking that Jeremy's talking about. Carolyn, why don't you talk a little bit just about the backups, how often, what we have, and how it all works in conjunction together.
Sure. Okay. So Jeremy touched on several points about how you can back up and restore data. The one that Nick brought up is really the most important. How can you recover specific data in your AD and the attributes, and if you need to selectively restore? It's really difficult to do that with the native tools. We looked at some examples with that. Active Administrator includes an ability to schedule backups of your entire AD, of all the data, of all the attributes, the group membership. That is not anything new in the version 5.5. That has been part of the product. What is new in 5.5 is that if you are running the recycle bin, we do support restore from that as well, but that's not required for our solution. So we don't require it to be a 2008 domain level. We don't require, all those limitations that are part of the recycle bin, but if you are using it, we do support it. So where we're at right now is Nick is looking at the recovery tab. This is where you would see a list of really the backup archives that have been taken. Those can be scheduled, those can be run on demand. A lot of people choose to run those nightly. And you can navigate through those, and you can pick a selected archive, and then you can actually preview and even drill down and pick what objects do you want to restore. Sometimes we have people where they accidentally delete a whole OU. That could be disastrous. That could take a lot of time to recreate in production. So they can just come back to their backup, click through their archive, which Nick is doing right here, and they can choose to navigate and pick a specific OU, specific users even, and you can click through and just do a restore that way. So we make it very, very easy for people to be able to recover those attributes. And as he mentioned, we set the links, we set the group memberships, we set the security back. So we make it very, very easy for that.
So let's go back to the slides here. So the last thing that I want to kind of talk about is the other aspect of what Active Administrator does that we really haven't touched on, which is in addition to the security delegations we've shown you, the group policy management, the offline group policies, the backup to the group policies, the backup and restore and AD, is the auditing of Active Directory itself. Just real quickly to show you what that looks like. Let me go ahead and bring this back here. With the Active Administrator, I can go over here to my auditing tab. What we do is we put an agent either on the DCs directly or on another box that watches the domain controller, and it pulls out the event logs. And the idea is that we can basically pull out changes like here. It shows that administrator logged onto the DC, there was a backup operation begun, so on and so forth. But we can actually filter these out based on a number of criteria. And this is where the product really shines. Instead of you having to know that it's event ID 551 and then you have to sort through all the 551s to figure out which one is appropriate for your auditing need, we can do it based off of the user that made the change, the events included. So this is great. You could say, I just want to know when someone tried to restore Active Directory and it failed, or when someone modified a user, or someone deleted a group, or changed a password, whatever it is. You can pick which domain controller. You can put something in the event description if you want to. If you really like the event IDs, there they are. You can pick those, the locations and types that are affected, and then the failure or success. And it very quickly allows you to hone down whether or not, who's made the change, what changes were made, and so on, which provides you another level of sort of change management, another level of avoidance, because you can see what's going on in your Active Directory. Just to kind of tell you a quick anecdote that I like to share about this is, in my previous life I was a VAR for ScriptLogic, and I was doing a proof of concept with a customer of Active Administrator. So I downloaded it, had it up and running in about 10 minutes, that's all it takes. Had it running on one DC, and wanted to show them what the auditing work looked like. So I went and I said, let me go ahead, I'm going to create a user, modify them, delete them, and I'll show you the event logs. So I went ahead and I created the user, modified it, deleted it, and then I just set up the default view, and it showed me all the changes. And the customer that I was with stares at the event logs, looks over at one of their colleagues and says, hey Mitch, why'd you add so-and-so to the VPN users group? Basically, Mitch added some guy to the VPN users group and got busted for doing it during my demo. And that's how powerful the product is. It's that easy to get up and running, and yet it provides a comprehensive view into what's going on in your Active Directory.
That's a great story, Nick.
I just made it up on the fly. It didn't really happen. No, actually it did happen. I'm just teasing. All right, so so just kind of in summary here, there's a lot you can do with the free tools. Jeremy, you want to kind of sum all that up with the free stuff that we've covered today?
Sure. Okay. So if we go back to the 20-yard line, actually, I think the place that I want to start again is just with backup of the GPOs, right? There's no excuse now anymore not to back up your group policy objects. I think that's super important. We talked about AD, backup and recovery, the idea that there is a way to do it in the box, but you got to take that domain controller offline. There is some programmatic ways to restore objects using the AD recover tool, which is through Tombstone reanimation, and the myth of the AD recycle bin. It does exist, but it's not as simple as point and click, and it does have some caveats around it. And don't forget about making sure that you test all of your stuff before you roll it into production. That's my 30-second summary of today's talk.
Excellent. And so what we're trying to do at ScriptLogic is simply, again, take what you're doing on a daily basis and centralize it, automate it, and simplify it. And you see the 4 key areas there that we've kind of touched on, the group policies, security, auditing, and the backup and restore, in order to provide you some of that extra value that you're not getting outside the box, in order to make you more productive, make you more secure, make you more able to meet compliance standards, and so on. Just with one solution. Everything that we showed you in Active Administrator comes with the product. There aren't like components to it, or it doesn't get sold in bits and pieces. It's one product. Carolyn, have we missed anything? You want to add anything?
Just a couple things come into mind while you're doing the roll-up. So So one of the things that we really didn't show, but the product does support, is backing up group policies, right? We give you the ability to even, it's not very difficult with native tools, but we give you the ability easily through our tools to schedule those backups to happen. So you don't have to go in and manually do those backups. So that was one area I just wanted to point out. And then the other area was around auditing. You showed a great demo of the reporting console where you can set those auditing filters. You can schedule those reports to be, email delivered or executed. But we also have an alerting and a notification framework, so you can even schedule when there are certain conditions that you need to be notified immediately for, such as, somebody added a new person to the domain admins group or something like that, very sensitive that you want to be notified right away. We do have a really nice alerting and a notification framework that's built in for that stuff, so you get a real-time notification. You can even kick off and enable other actions based on those specific rules you've defined. So just a lot of power around that auditing data there as well. I just wanted to point out.
Good point. I did forget those entirely. There's so much the product does that I totally forgot it. So, okay, cool. So let's do this. First, next steps. Jeremy, you want to kind of cover some of this? That way you can. I'm sure you can do your spiel a lot better than I can.
Sure, no spiel. Look, here's the deal. If you guys want to win books today, I know they're giving away netbooks, but I'm giving away textbooks. I'm not saying which one's better is going to make you smarter. I'm just saying they're giving away netbooks, I'm giving away textbooks. Anyway, so if you want to win one of my group policy books, we're going to have a couple of different ways you can possibly do that. We have still 673 people on the attendee list right now. Here's the deal. If you are not a member of the GP Answers team already, if you go to gpanswers.com, create an account, and activate it, that will put you in the running for today. If you already have an account, just send me an email with the last email I sent you from the GP Answers newsletter list. You'll know what I'm talking about because you got it yesterday. Now, that's chance number one. Chance number two is follow me on Twitter. So my name on Twitter is @Jeremy Moskowitz, all one word. You can see my name right there on the book. So make sure you spell it right. MOS is in Sam, KOWITZ. Jeremy Moskowitz, all one word on Twitter. I will pick one existing GP Answers member, one new GP Answers team member, and one Twitter follower. That's 3 different books I'm going to give away today. All right? So that's thing number one. Thing number two is if you guys are looking to get smarter in group policy, I do an intensive 5-day group policy masterclass. My next class will be in Los Angeles, probably in March. If you are interested in learning more about that, let me know. It's going to be a smash. I do these only a couple of times a year, so if you are interested, now would be the time to let me know. And we got tons of free stuff on gpanswers.com. You can read all about that stuff, and I'll talk to you more about it when I talk to you guys one-on-one on GP Answers. And I want to thank my friends at ScriptLogic for having me as your special guest today. Thanks.
Your special guest. You're special, Jeremy. Yeah, we're glad to have you.
Well, you say it. I'm not sure I believe you.
I know. I am glad you're here. That's for sure. So let's go to the next steps about Active Administrator. Yep. If you go to scriptlogic.com/AA, that will take you to the Active Administrator product page. There is a free 30-day evaluation of the product you can put in your environment. You can also put it on a VM in a test environment. We also have an online test drive. That is a web-based access to a VM. There's no installation necessary. It just simply gives you a web access to a VM, and you can play with Active Administrator there as well. We are currently having a beta of the version 5.5 that I showed you today. Carolyn, I think we talked about this a little bit before the call, but the stuff that's in AA, the beta is extremely stable, right? This is just bug fixes and a couple of enhancements like the reporting and some other stuff, correct?
The 5.5 beta is publicly available now, and
okay.
Yes, it is stable, yes.
Yes, so that this is not we're crossing our fingers and we hope it's going to work, folks. This is actually this is a product that's been out for years and years, and we're just updating it with some of the new reporting features. And I'm oversimplifying it, of course. But if you'd like to see the version that we showed you today with some of the comparison reporting, that's new in 5.5. Most all of what we showed you today is available in the current version, but we would certainly encourage you to take a look at our beta and see our latest wares and our best foot forward. And then if you want to get a quote or so on, talk to your reseller or your ScriptLogic representative. You can always email them, sales@scriptlogic.com. I know most of you probably got invites from Rob Dawson. You can always email Rob as well, and Rob will be happy to take care of and route you to the right person if necessary, and so on. So let's do this. Let's take some questions. We're going to take a couple of questions, and then I'm going to yell out who the winner of the netbook is. That way, if some people have some real pressing questions, they can hear some answers. Once we answer or give away the netbook, we'll continue to stay on and keep answering questions as long as they're relevant and interesting. And you're welcome to stay with us. And